My name is Julia. I'm from Alabama. I'm the director of the Legend of Pipi, or the primary director, and then also did some producing and stuff like that. And then
Yeah, I'm Paulo. In the credits, you'll see me as Birgit Ulig, but I'll be called Paulo right here. I am the co-director or assistant director of the film, and yeah, yeah. We don't go to the same school, but we live in the same area now. So we're sitting next to each other, sharing a mic.
all right, and then Zoe next.
My name is Zoe. I'm from California, and I helped on the film as the co-producer and co-background lead.
Awesome.
And I'm Kian. I'm originally from Alaska, and I was one of the primary animators on Legend of Pipi. I ended up animating about a minute of the film altogether.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Wow. That's okay. Wow.
Yeah,
In
Kian's crazy.
how long did you have to animate this minute?
I started end of December, and it went until March, June. I mean June,
Oh my.
May.
Wow.
It took it was a lot of work in a short amount of time.
Yeah,
Yeah,
we'll get into that.
sounds like. Yeah, for sure.
That is
Awesome.
nuts.
Also, hi, all the PP people in here. I see a lot of
there's a
people
lot of crew people in
in
here.
the team.
Hi guys, welcome back.
Hello, everyone.
Yeah.
You thought you were done.
Yeah,
Yeah.
we're getting PP meeting flashbacks.
All right. So this, what you're about to see, is an amazing short film done by this lovely team and people in the chat for a thesis, or it was just a school project.
It was a thesis, yeah.
Yep. Okay.
The residents of the Cat Kingdom lived peaceful, prosperous lives. Until one night, their beloved cat princess was snatched from her bedroom by a horrifying monster. Distraught and in disarray, the king searched his domain for a mighty hero, brave and strong enough to save his missing daughter. Luckily, a hero of legend rises to the challenge.
Hey! Pay attention in the presence of your king. Is this really it? Are you the only one who showed up? Unbelievable. An entire kingdom's worth of cats, and this is all we can do. Do you have any idea what awaits you beyond the kingdom borders? You can't be serious about me. Hey! Where are you going?
What the hell is this? Do you know this guy? You're pathetic! What are you, some kind of infant? A child? Lost looking for your ball of yarn, little man. I've taken on like 500 of these shitheads at once, and you know, this one time they sent this guy after me with a slingshot. Huh?
Love it. So
Yay.
good. Congratulations.
Oh, thank you.
I watched
Wow.
that short multiple times and it never gets old.
Oh,
It still
yeah.
gets me so hard every single time when he grows the giant arm and then knocks on the door.
Oh my god, you noticed that! Oh my god. So many people reacting to the video didn't notice that. It was funny because I was the one who did the little. Initially, it was just a giant, like his normal little like 3-hoop paw, just like enlarged. And then I was like, okay, I need this to be more stupid. So I did a draw over with like making the arm really muscly and stuff, and no one pointed it out. I don't know how. So glad you noticed that.
That's really cool.
Yeah. Yeah, it's always nice when those little things that you put into your work actually get picked up on. You're like, yes, thank you.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Far out. I mean, where do we even start? It's just there's so much in there to talk about. Just quickly, one of the things I noticed, I love the transitions between scenes when he's looking for the princess. There's some really smart ways to save time, instead of like
Yeah.
doing here's another little travel sequence. It's like, no, we're just going to change the background.
Yeah, like originally we had a lot more dynamic sequences for that, like big parallaxes and like Pipi looking off in the distance and wind blowing his fur and there's like thunder.
Yeah, and like him sneaking through the thickets and stuff. Yeah.
Right, and then as we kept going, we were like, the clock is ticking, and we're already very ambitious with this film and have shots that are extremely ambitious without those transitional shots already. So my friend Yusuf, he's a storyboarder, came in and helped me figure out ways to cut the film down on time and just manpower in general. And that was his solution. And then Cass, one of our sound designers, came in and added the rock sliding sound effect, which really brought it all together.
It's really funny.
So I'm really glad it turned out that way.
Well, that's another thing
Yeah.
I'll say is that like like the sound design in the film is so good and it adds so much. Like of course there's like the sounds where it's like, it's the comedic gag and like there's a funny sound which goes with it. But it's like that's something which even though it's not the actual visuals, when it doesn't sound right, it really stands out, but when it's good sound design, it adds so much. So that was something which really impressed me about it as well, and I really, really liked about the film.
Oh, I'm so proud of what the team did. I'm so fortunate to get the sound people I got, especially because you're right. Like, sound is so important. If you don't notice like anything off in the sound, if you're not thinking about it, then you did it right. But if something is off, it's super noticeable and
Yeah, or even
doesn't.
if something is missing too.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it makes the film not feel complete. So I had, I believe a lot of them are here. If most of them, I know Brian and Ian were on music. They composed the music, and then Bebo, who is here, and Cass. I'm not sure if Cass is here. Did tag team the sound design.
Yeah. I guess, well, first and foremost, and we were kind of having a chat about this before the stream started. Pipi, the inspiration behind Pipi, and coming up with the name Pipi, and any challenges you might have faced.
I'll
for the
start with
character Pipi.
like how he came into this world. I just joined a Discord call with a couple friends who were like, "Hey, we want to play a D&D campaign, but we want to start in like 10 minutes. So if you want to join, you have to make your character fast." So I hopped in a draw pile, which is like a collaborative drawing program, and just whipped up the quickest drawing I could of whatever was in my brain, and PP came out, and I was like, what's a good name for like this like little square, little scrunkly thing, and I remembered one of my favorite internet cats. I don't know if anybody remembers him, but his name was PP, but it was spelled like P-E-P-E-E. Fortunately, he died a couple years ago, but he was like this really funny looking cream colored cat. So that's where the inspiration of his name came from. But and also here, I'll put it in chat. Here's that little drawing I was talking about. But the inspiration for what he looks like came from my college roommate's cat, Abby, who's in chat right now. her name is Chloe Boots, and she looks like she's like this black tuxedo cat. She looks like if you like put a hand on her head and put a hand on her butt and like squished her inwards. Um, she's like a little tiny funny looking cat that looks all like Pipi. So that's where he came from.
That's awesome.
It's amazing. Also, like something with PP's character is I just love the chaotic gremlin energy that he has. Like I love how it comes across, like, you know, in his design and like even just like how he moves. Like that's something overall which really impressed me about this short is that like a lot of times for a lot of college programs students have to make a short film, and you know everybody always has really, you know, grand visions for what they want their film to be. And I saw that like you guys in your pitch pack and was like, yes, we want backgrounds which looks like it's from Amphibia and Gravity Falls. We want this level of quality. And like what's amazing is that you guys got that level of quality. A lot of times, you know, with projects can be like, yeah, of course everybody wants the level of quality of like Gravity Falls or like, you know, a Cartoon Network show, but you guys actually did it. And I'm curious, like, you know, I don't know exactly how to phrase this question, but how?
So
I think mainly it's also, I think it's partially because Julia and I are both giant perfectionists and we kind of
Yeah.
enable each other in that way.
So
So slave drivers. That's what you're saying.
yeah, I remember like wanting this. Being, oh, there's Chloe. That's a cat that Pipi was inspired by.
Oh,
Having this very very specific vision of what I wanted, and struggling, especially in the beginning, because I knew that we would need a lot of cooks in the kitchen to make this film because, I mean, we're all college students. Well, we had, at the end, we had mostly college students, some recent grads, and some non-college attendees, but everybody has their own jobs, their own school, their own lives. And this is a unpaid production. This is a volunteer project. So my main challenge was figuring out how to hold people accountable for their assignments while staying aware of the nature of the production, that it's a student film. We started out with a group of 10, which was the original like SCAD crew, because this was produced at SCAD. And then I brought friends on, and then slowly we needed more help on other things like biz dev and animation and cleanup and comp, and that's where the team came in. And it was just to get the quality, we had a lot of checks and balances. We had like a quality control part of every single part of production. And we had 2 meetings a week where Sunday we would have the big PP meeting with everybody in the crew. We call that PP Mass. And that's where we go over all the productions, like recent updates and assignments for the week, and we'd get crit. And then Wednesday we'd have another check-in for anybody's like retakes or updated assignments or anything like that.
Yeah, and applied notes.
And once production like was picking up and everything was coming to a head, I was easily having like 5 or 7 meetings a week just to go over everything and approve stuff and give notes. But it was an enormous effort because we made this film in less than a year. I think it started in September and it went to July. And we basically just had to hit the ground running as fast as we could from beginning to end. I think total, this was basically like my full-time job because it was, I just like did full-time school, and this was my full-time school that year. So I think in total I only had like 2 weeks out of those however many months of break from PP. Otherwise it's just all day, every day going at it. But we had, I mean, it was all the crew that made it to the quality it got to. Everybody stepped up.
Yeah, I think like a big part of it was mainly that we had so many people on the team, and everyone, literally everyone, contributed a little bit. There were countless times in BizDev or background paint where people just started adding like small little details to it or small little like ideas to it, and I think that's what like ultimately made this as strong as it is that there's so many creative minds just adding to it and more and more.
Yeah, that was definitely the most rewarding part of making this, like watching each team member's art grow and develop through problem solving and collaboration and working together to make one cohesive project. It was not easy, but we all grew closer as a team, and it was super rewarding to see our vision come together successfully.
Oh, for sure. And just having people contribute as well gives them a sense of ownership as well over their work, and they can see their own work in the short film. It's sometimes in a production you put something in there, but the director might say, well, no, that's not really, going to suit the style of the film. Let's take that out. So having the freedom to be able to do that and make those suggestions is amazing just for the whole crew, and it keeps everyone kind of working towards the same goal.
Yeah, a big part of the production, I remember that too, like when I first joined the production and slowly started slipping into the co-director role, a big thing that Julia was like kept saying, was very adamant about, was the fact that she wanted everyone to have portfolio pieces. That was a really big part of it. Since this is a student project, this was supposed to be everyone's in to the industry working on PP, was having strong parts of the film that they were fully responsible for, so they have full things that they can put in their portfolio that they added a little bit of their charm and their voice into, so that people can show off their work in a really rewarding and telling way.
Right. It was really a focus on quality over quantity, which is usually not achievable with student films because they have to be done so fast. And I'm always so amazed just seeing what small teams of student films can pull off in such a small amount of time. But my focus was that people, if we could get a bit more people on, everybody could have to do a little bit less, but put their most into what they had. And
So
it worked out great.
It sounds like you guys were really good, like being able to balance. We want it to be very high quality, but also being realistic with scheduling and figuring out like, okay, this person, they're already working a job or they're already doing school elsewhere, but what is the best way for them to contribute? So it seems like you guys had a really, really good grasp on just like, I don't know, just knowing your team.
Yeah, it was a lot of seeing who was available to take on stuff. If somebody had to drop their work because of other assignments or just something came up,
Usually Julia and I would like start taking that on. I remember like we both directed it, but a big chunk of our work was kind of picking up where people had to leave off. And I think that ended up working out too, because that way we were able to alleviate some of the workload from the people who had a full-time job or other responsibilities in their personal life.
Right, and people, despite that, people made a lot of like sacrifices for this film. Like a lot of people pulled late nights and put some other assignments to the side to get their stuff done, and that was a huge part of it too. I'm very grateful for people for their enthusiasm about this project and their mainly like their belief in it. I'm really glad people believed in this film. It definitely wouldn't have been able to get done if they didn't.
Yeah, absolutely. So we kind of talked a little bit about the scene transitions and how they started out. You had kind of more of a grander vision for those. Was there anything else in the story that might have changed over time? Like, how different is the finished product from when you first started?
It's pretty. Let's see. The Act 1, which is from the beginning to the Minotaur, that all stayed pretty much the same. What changed the most was the montage and the dragon part. So at the end, the dragon was actually not supposed to be the climax. The climax of the film was gonna be like Pipi just trying to navigate up the castle with a bunch of like booby traps and other stuff like that. And the dragon was the dragon was supposed to be just really limited. Originally, you didn't see like originally we had the princess's silhouette in the bed, and she was already dead, and Pipi just looked at the dragon, and there was no fight. It was just like a dragon that acted pretty much like a chicken sitting in the room. And then Pipi took her and left. But I wanted it to be more climactic and put more horror into it, because I really love when people do that in animated content. And someone on my team named Grace, she was a viz dev artist. She's here right now, actually. Suggested that we put the princess corp in the dragon's mouth, and it she drops it how like a dog would drop a chew toy when she sees Pipi, and then it all kind of took off from there by incorporating kind of that horror element into it, and making it more impactful. So that changed the most. Otherwise, the montage changed a lot because originally we didn't have like a music track. We were gonna have it be like Pipi encountering different villains and them like talking to him and laughing, and it was gonna be a lot more quiet and a lot more slow paced. But we felt like the pacing didn't work out once we boarded that, so that was one of the hardest parts actually. Like right before the boards were due, I scrapped like the whole second act and worked with my friends like Yusef and Dom and Polo like for 3 nights in a row, basically redoing
Wow.
that act. Pretty rough,
Yeah.
but it came together.
It's something that a lot of the guests say when David and Brent do their live streams is, you know, be prepared to scrap everything if it's not
Yes.
working. Like, yeah, you can't be attached to your own sort of story. So it must have been tough. It must have been
It
tough.
was. The Pipi graveyard was massive. The Pipi storyboard graveyard. I learned quickly that I needed to stop tying down my boards before putting it all together and making sure everything worked, because a lot of the boards I scrapped were like cleaned. For anybody making
Fully
a film,
animatics,
yeah,
yeah.
for anybody making a film, do your first board pass in full as like scribbles and thumbs. I had a tendency to just go in and start drawing clean drawings with like some gray tones.
Yeah, and then you get too attached to it, and then you're like,
Yeah, and then it hurts when you have to get rid of it.
Yeah, but pre-production is a whole cycle of just throwing away stuff and
Yeah, and
rejection.
starting over.
I am curious because you mentioned like the adding the horror elements with the dead princess at the end. Was there any? Because like I'm assuming this is also like you had to pitch it to your school for your thesis and whatnot. Was there any like pushback on like, oh, but it's animated? Are you sure you want to show a dead body in your film? Like, did you have any pushback against that?
So we actually kept that completely under wraps. We wanted to trick everybody that the princess was a way bigger part of the film and that she didn't die. We didn't want anyone. Yeah, we didn't want anybody outside of the film knowing that all she is like in the beginning and then she's just dead at the end. So we even made a poster that tricked people. Let me see if I can find it real quick. I should have it.
Yeah, one of the what is it? The posters we did to like start building up the hype. We kind of used that to start misguiding people and that.
Yeah, here.
Fantastic.
It should be, yeah, it's right here.
It was nice because when the film came out, like people were like posting memes with like their expectations from like the poster versus like, you know, the princess's corpse in the film.
Yeah, a big focus for Pipi all around and just within his design is subversion of expectation. We wanted to reel people in with this funny, zany character and then subvert their expectations by introducing like real drama, real horror. And that's just his design in general. He's like a weak, scrunkly little cat, paired with something you wouldn't see a scrunkly cat wearing, like armor and a big sword.
Yeah.
And we wanted to push that throughout the story too.
Well, also I like the fact that it's not like the subverting expectations where it's like, oh, he's really tiny, but it turns out he's really great at fighting. Like, he doesn't defeat the villains, like, actually. Like you know, the Minotaur, it's like he gets squished. But it just so happens that, you know, the guy bleeds out. The other one, it's like, you know, he accidentally sets the spider on fire. So I really liked what you guys did with that. It felt unique and it felt like it could have easily gone into the cliche of like, oh, the surprise is that he's super badass at fighting. Like, no. He kind of sucks at it. But he's got the spirit.
Yeah, we wanted to kind of make him like an anti-hero. Like, he has so much confidence, so much unwavering confidence just because he's not very smart. And he's a little egotistical.
Oh yeah, that's okay, yeah,
that's
mean. That's okay, initially when Pipi was so the way I got onto the team was by starting to help board out the film in the pre-production stage. Like Julia some help in boarding out the beginning sequence, and then I ended up boarding like pretty much most of that. And then I also ended up doing the final animatic for the second act with the montage. And initially, like, the vision for Pipi was supposed to be that he's just really stupid and that he doesn't really react and that he's not reactive to anything. That's kind of the joke. And then when I started boarding him, without even thinking about it, I started making him a little mean. And I was like, that actually works. I started having him react in a way that is like with annoyance and some condescendingness, like when he commands the giant demon to attack the little wizard rat, like that, for example, that he just has this giant ego and belief that he does have this kind of power, which I think is even funnier because it like creates even more irony with what he is and who he is.
Yeah, we wanted him to. He's supposed to be rescuing the princess, but he just causes more trouble on the way and dooms more princesses as he goes.
Yeah.
Oh, also, for anybody who's just joined, if you're wondering why I'm suddenly switching to a German accent, Polo, my assistant director, is sitting next to me talking through my mic, so that's why we're both coming from the same
from the same thing, and I'm muted in the call so I can hear you guys.
No worries. Awesome. What software did you use to do this?
For animation, we used Toon Boom. I mean, people kind of roughed and whatever they were, because of the nature of the production, how fast it was. People were allowed to rough in whatever program they were like most used to and fast in, as long as it wasn't like a super like complex camera shot.
Yeah.
But we used Toon Boom for roughs and cleanup. We used Blender for the 3D aspects, which were the cat horse and the minotaur skull. And then we used After Effects for comp.
Yeah,
that's
for the
cool.
backgrounds, people used anything from Procreate to Photoshop, like again, whatever they had available. I think some people also use Clip Studio Paint.
It's also cool, like what you said about like, you know, the 3D aspects as well, because like looking at it, it definitely like the majority, like it's very, very 2D, but it is cool that there are some areas where, again, like working smarter, not harder, and also how fast it was. It's like, yeah, you know, if we're gonna be having a guy with like, you know, a anatomical skull, maybe it'd be good to get ourselves a 3D base.
I was worried about those horns. Tracking those horns in like dimensionally would have been rough. And the cat horse was actually that wasn't originally supposed to be 3D, but my Scan 3D modeler, Isabella, she's amazing. She just modeled the 2D design of him for fun, and we were like, actually, that looks amazing, and we won't have to reanimate his run cycle in 10 different perspectives. We can just do one and move it around. So that worked out perfectly. And I mean, I love 3D. I am not very good at it, but I love 3D animation and really wanted to incorporate it into the film as much as possible. So I'm really glad we ended up being able to.
That's cool. I'm also like wondering, like on the same vein, like were there other areas in the production where you found ways again to like work smart? Since again you were shooting for very high quality and it's also 8.5 minutes long.
Right.
So like were there other areas where it's like you're like, oh yeah, we could do it smarter here, we could do it faster here, but still maintain the quality we're looking for?
Honestly, the only thing I can think of, a lot of it was just a huge push. The main one I can think of is the Cat Kingdom pan down with all the different cats. What that was just everybody on the team who had time at the end got to could animate like their little Pipi Sona, their original character in the Pipi verse, in a spot on the Cat Kingdom area. So that's how that entire scene got populated. It was just a bunch of different people animating.
Yeah, like everyone just animating their own characters. So if you wanted to have your character be in the film, then you had the chance to just do it yourself right there and then. And the same person would handle rough animation and cleanup and coloring for that animation, which would make it a lot faster.
Yeah. Otherwise, like it was just a big ambitious push for all the other shots, and many people had their hands on like one shot. Like every shot had so many different hands on it.
Yeah, and also I think when you said when you guys asked if we ever like were like work smart, not hard, I honestly think that a lot of us just worked really hard instead of
Yeah.
smart,
Yeah.
because especially Julia and I killed ourselves over this production. I think we both, like, every meeting we both were like completely disheveled, like sleep deprived through the entire
Yeah,
like
not
working
to-
so much.
Not to sugarcoat this,
Yeah,
it was
really
hard.
difficult. Yeah, like I never in my life did I have to like pull 3 all-nighters in a row. Like it was
Yeah,
like
we were very
messed up.
passionate.
Yeah, we were really passionate, and that's kind of what kept us going. And also, I think we both kind of enabled each other in that aspect too, because we're both huge perfectionists, and we both also kind of have the motivation to put into our work to make it as perfect as we can. And then we kind of just enabled each other, being like, oh, if we do this, then we can make it look even better. And there would go another night of sleep, for example.
I guess also
Yeah.
too, like, I guess it helps having that second person where it's like you kind of bounce off of each other's energies, like on such an intense project. Because if it's just like you solo trying to lead like
Ugh.
that, it could, I'd imagine that would be rough.
It was. It was for a while because it was just me directing for the first like pre-production aspect of it, and then Polo slowly became co-director as things went on, and we started calling each other like every night and working throughout the night. But before that, when I was just stuck in the echo chamber of my own head, worrying about stuff and trying to problem solve, of course I had help from the team, and that was super awesome. But also the doubt within me of being like, am I being a little too overbearing with this note or anything like that? Having someone to check me, and either be like, yeah, we don't really need to get that note, or yeah, no, that would be good. That helped a ton.
Yeah, I could imagine.
I think one thing that made it like easier for like I did a minute of the film, so I had to work really fast in a short amount of time, and I think one thing that made that possible was Julia and Polo's expertise and guidance. They both taught me so much, and Julia showed me some professional pipeline things such as like hotkeys and reusing and manipulating frames to make things go a lot faster. So using like for me and in my aspect of the film, using those shortcuts really like sped me up like over 100% from what I was able to learn from the directors.
Yeah,
For
and
sure.
bouncing off of that, it was also super on Kian's end. If he had like questions or he wasn't feeling sure about something, he immediately like came to us and asked for help and asked for guidance or where he could improve, and that was super helpful too. Just being
Like the
very
openness,
transparent.
yeah, like
Yeah.
the very openness. One thing that I loved about working with Kian the most too was just like how receptive of critique he was too, because it doesn't feel, I don't want to give critique if the person doesn't feel good about it. I want to make sure that everyone can like take something from it and everyone can like be proud of what they're creating with the critique. And Kian was definitely very good at making it feel rewarding too.
Right, and the team in general. Like again, I'm so grateful for.
Yeah, so everyone
the
was
team
so
we
good
had.
at it. Yeah.
It was the stars aligned.
Mm-hmm.
That's really
Yeah.
impressive. The fact that you guys had that kind of atmosphere on the project is like good on you guys, because that makes a huge difference.
It was such a wonderful like learning atmosphere for me personally. Like I've never learned more in like any of my classes that I've ever taken. Like I've never learned more or had more experience than working on the PP team. Like the how much Julia and Polo gave to the crew and to the film is just outstanding. I would not be where I am without like their constant guidance and like willingness to help me and like answer my questions and give me like really solid, reliable critique every single time.
Mm.
I'm
Kian,
curious.
you said you worked on a minute of the film.
Yes.
Which shots in particular?
I did 2 of the montage shots. Those are my biggest shots that I did. Polo did the demon shot, and it's absolutely amazing
Yeah.
and insane.
Yeah.
I did the spider shot and the snake shot. As well, I did one of the talking shots for the Lion King, not the Lion King, not
You weren't born
the
yet, Kian.
yeah
Yeah.
yeah, I wasn't born yet when the Lion King came out. The king, one of the king shots, not the close up, that was done by Abby, which is an insane lip sync shot.
Yeah.
But I handled the part where Pipi looks up at the dragon and goes, "You're so beautiful," and then picks the dragon up and jumps out the wall. So
I
both of
love
those
that
shots are mine
part
as well.
so much.
I'm so happy I got that part. I loved working on that
So
part so
good.
much.
Yeah.
This we'll get into the spider scene later, but that was definitely the biggest learning curve. I think later when we show our PowerPoint that we've prepared, I'll get into that. But
Yeah. Maybe that's a good segue, actually.
Yeah.
We can jump
Oh,
into a bit of
yeah.
a show and tell. So
All right, let me share my screen. Also,
Wait,
okay.
I just noticed the face at the top of the island.
Yeah.
yeah.
And the
There's
island's
cats
also like a
everywhere.
cat.
Yeah, the
That's
kingdom
cool.
design.
Yeah, we'll show that. That's also in this PowerPoint. We also had it so that the Tiger Mountain's eyes close at night or like early morning. So when one of the shots the eyes are open, then
Yeah, and then in this one, like where I drew in this illustration I did, I made the mountain sleep.
Aw. That's cool.
All right, so we prepared a lot of pre-production art and production art and animation to go over and talk about some processes. So let's get into it. Let me see. This is a long one. All right, so visual development. So for VizDev, we had about 10 weeks, I guess 15 if you count break that we all worked through.
Wait, from when to when was Wisdom?
VizDev was September to end of
like
November.
mid-September.
Oh damn. Okay, yeah.
Yeah, so we had like 15-ish weeks for visual development, and if you've ever made a project before, you know that this is probably like the scariest part. Like there's so many things left unanswered, there's so many moving parts. You have to do storyboard and design and scripts and voice acting direction and music stuff. Well, music comes later, but at least the ideas for it. And there's so many blank spots, and you have to figure out how to get it all together and make sure it's paced right. It was definitely the scariest part of production, for me at least. But this was one of the first little. It's funny looking at this now because to me it's so off model. But this is my first little promotional image of it before I tied down the designs or retied down the designs. And then the evolution of PP. He started out much more lanky, and slowly grew to be way more streamlined for animation, thanks to Polo. If you want to talk about that at all.
Oh yeah. So I think this was also one of the first things that I did on the film was when Julia was visiting California in over Thanksgiving. We sat down together and started like preparing some PP things, and I was like, you know what, I'm gonna get started on this model sheet for him. And we were talking about it together, and I came up with the idea to make him look a lot more cartoonishly round and a lot more easy to animate, because we wanted to make sure that the many people that we bring onto the film will have no problem animating him and will have very clear and solid base shapes to work off of while they're animating him. That was one of the main intentions of like simplifying these shapes, and the other one was to kind of go deeper into this narrative of PP is the very small, cutesy looking, round underdog character, and by creating this image of him looking like that, we can subvert it even more by making him kind of mean, making him kind of be actually really bad at what he does. Give this little funny, cute looking guy a huge ego, give him an attitude. And that way we were able to like bring more of these contrasts of his personality in there. That was also like one of my intentions when I was like starting to shrink him down. But it's really funny looking at his development because it just looks like someone like took his feet and head and just smushed it together.
Looks like the cat he was inspired by.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And then Keepy Kiss, that's his official name, the cool version of him in the beginning. He started out like this. I had some help from my friend Yapiko. I'm not sure if you guys, some of y'all might know of him, but he helped with the first pass design, and then Polo came in and did the same thing. She streamlined him a bit more, made him a bit easier to animate, especially because by the time we got to the PP shots, or these PP shots, these PP shots, we had like a couple weeks left of production. We had
Yeah.
to rough clean up and comp
Wow.
them within a
Yeah.
couple weeks.
Yeah, I was like, I was doing like, so I didn't only board the entire intro section, I also directed the entire intro section, and I animated the entire intro section. Someone else did the cleanup, but I also, and the background paint, but I also comped the entire intro section. So I was pretty much
Wow.
responsible for all of this, which is why this Pibicus design is very rough and very like, it's not super like obviously the turnaround isn't like crazy clean because I was the only one needing to reference it. And I mainly just like put it into a style that was easier for me to animate. At that point we were in such a rush that I didn't think about appeal too much. I was like, I need to get this out, and I didn't want to change it too much for my rough to save some time. So this is where this design came from.
So this is what PP sees himself as. And his
Exactly,
yeah.
And then some development of the dragon. So originally she wasn't supposed to be animated much. Like I said, she was supposed to be kind of just sitting there like that middle image. And then when we changed the boards and she was going to be animated a lot more, I was like, oh shoot, this would be tracking all these little spines would be horrible to animate. So we simplified her more, although she still was a beast to draw. I ended up doing, I think, except for one shot, I keyed her out on every single shot she's in just because she was very hard to get a hang of drawing wise, model wise. She was not easy to animate, but she was very fun. And then these were the first drawings I did for the Minotaur and King, and they pretty much stayed the same. Minotaur 3D had, of course, and a little more simplified, but these were the original drawings for them. And also, most of these original drawings were done in Blender grease pencil because originally that's
wow.
what I was gonna do for this production. But then when I went to clean up one of my rough Blender shots, I was like,
Yeah, no, cleanup
this is gonna be rough.
rough, yeah.
Yeah, grease pencil still some way to go when it comes to
Or like coloring specifically too. Yeah.
coloring stuff. But if I were doing this film on my own, which would have been impossible, but that was the plan to do the Blender thing. But Toon Boom worked a lot better for a collaborative thing, especially how you can share files. And then these were some developmental sketches from my friend Kelsey. And then some early Tiger King or Tiger Mountain concepts. It changed a lot as well. And then these were some throne room concepts from Zoe. Zoe, if you want to talk about them.
Yeah, like initially like these were all like initially like all we kind of had when we started with VizDev was just like Julia's pitch art. So it was just like some of the kind of like really rough sketches of the world she was kind of like brainstorming and stuff. And so these were all just like attempts to kind of I think like figure out the vastness of the throne room and then like also kind of slowly delve into like the decoration style of the set pieces and just figure out like kind of I think the fantasy elements too that we dabbled in later on.
Yeah, these were some of the first like background exploration. So we were really trying to figure out like our touchstones and how to incorporate our inspirations, which were a lot of Amphibia and Owl House and like Phoenix Kilgrave. Double King was a huge one.
Yeah, which is where the grain kind of came in.
Yeah.
In the rendering
When
stuff.
you're, sorry, just going back to those thumbnails, when you're creating them, I think you might have just said it, but you do it with the intent that these will be used within the short film, just so you're not kind of reinventing the wheel, or do you just kind of come up with this and go, well, this is what it could look like, whether it gets used or not?
So like it kind of depended because there were parts of VizDev because of like the timetable that we were on and just like how expansive I think we realized the film would be by the end of like the allotted time that we had for pre-production where like because in the initial visit that we did in the fall was very much the kind of like trial and error thing where it's like we just have to make as many ideas as possible to see if there's like if there's something that's working or if there isn't. So these kind of fell under that. Like the big one that's the more kind of like orangey tone one, I think that was one of the first like pieces I did on the production, and I did that I think before our official pre-production started. And that was very much like I have no idea if this will be used in the film. This is just like, something kind of to maybe to
Yeah.
base off of and like a rough idea of like what we could do maybe. Because I like Julia said earlier, it's just I think what was so daunting in the beginning of pre-production was like as we slowly got into it, we realized like, oh my god, like all these set pieces need to be designed. Like we have so many locations and so much detail that we want to put into the film, but like just kind of having no idea where to start. So these I think by the time that I did the smaller thumbnails, those were kind of like we were slowly nailing down parts of the throne room. But none of those, like some of the camera angles are similar to like certain shots that stay in the film, but overall, like they're still very rough. And I kind of did them just like, well, hopefully these will be of use in some way,
Yeah.
but having like, kind of knowing that like, okay, they might be scrapped, they might not be.
Yeah, the life of a pre-production concept artist is a life of rejection. I feel, but yeah, it was much more explorative at first. Something that typically you hear with thesis films, especially from professors, is to use as many set pieces as possible. Like keep it within one setting or two. We did not do that, and that was I was like when we started doing these concepts, like oh god, I did the opposite of that. We have like 50 backgrounds, like different places, and we have to figure out what all of them look like and how to differentiate them and different color palettes for them. So that was very daunting. But and then we had some more exploration for the original concept of seeing the princess's silhouette in the bed. And I think originally she wasn't originally going to be alive, but we just kind of
It
did
was
this
gonna
as a
be like the
teaser
silhouette shot.
to trick people more. This
Yep.
was kind of like a teaser for her.
Yeah, the whole
Yeah.
build up to fooling our audiences was so funny.
Yeah,
Because
it's
we
really
really
fun,
tried to
fun.
like create this idea that everyone is like we really wanted everyone to believe that it was gonna be like an underdog type of movie where Pee looks like a little thing that you expect
for.
nothing of and you
Yeah.
root for him, and then he does the unthinkable and ends up saving the princess, defeating the dragon. Really wanted to like create that illusion that that's exactly how it was gonna be. So that when people watched it they were completely flabbergasted.
Yeah.
Yeah, I remember like all the responses, or at least the comments on the film, were either people like um repulsed. Is that the right word? Like people were like not happy.
Yeah, they were angry, they were
Yeah,
upset.
either people were not happy
Yeah.
or they were so thrilled.
Yeah.
Which was the reaction I wanted and expected. So
The two extremes, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, just because it's something that happens all the time in story, there's that happy ending. When I was watching it, I kind of felt a little bit cheated that
Yeah.
the princess didn't get saved, but it definitely makes up for it with the ending of Peepy just completely sure that he's got the right princess and running off into yeah, it all just
Yeah,
worked,
because
but
in
there
his
was that
head,
feeling.
it was a happy ending.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah, a
Yeah.
lot of people were like, "Man, this is like so much like Shrek, like him falling in love with the dragon." I'm like, no, he's not falling in love with the dragon. He just thinks that's the princess. Like, if the crown was on anything, he would have fallen for it because uh, he's just stupid. He only sees the crown.
Yeah, and you did a really good job at hinting at that by every time he looked at the picture of the princess, the crown would shine, and that's watching it for a second time, I think I picked up on that more. He's
Yeah,
just looking at the
yeah.
crown. Yeah.
That came in later to the shine. We were realizing like it wasn't reading super well. So we added a shine later on to every crown sequence, and that helped a lot.
Yep, for sure.
Yeah, here's some more early concepts. Originally, the dragon was gonna crash into a big cabinet, but that soon became a little too much, especially because that shot was already very ambitious. So we changed it. And then these were some early explorations of the tapestry, the labyrinth cat villagers, some more of the Tiger Mountain where we got a little closer to the final shape, and some more props. And then a bunch of different color thumbs, color comps from Jess. She handled all the color scripts. These were the ones where we had like the first ones where we had PP also set in the environment so we could see how to make him best stand out.
Yeah, and like how to kind of change his color palette to work with the environment well.
And then here is a more detailed color script. And the most challenging aspect of the backgrounds was actually just, well, I guess it came later in comp, is when we put the character on top of the backgrounds. Our backgrounds are really vibrant and a lot of them are pretty busy. So we had to figure out the best way to keep the attention on the character, change values, and make sure compositions are working so that you still look at the character even though our backgrounds are very detailed and vibrant. So let's keep going to the backgrounds actually. Here are some of our touchstones. Again, a lot of Owl House and Amphibia. We also were looking at the Dofus movie. I think that's how you say it. It's like a French animated movie. They had some insanely impressive backgrounds in that movie. If you like 2D animation and just impressive art in general, I definitely recommend going to watch the Dofus movie. And then Midnight Gospel and Adventure Time were also huge ones for us. We loved how like whimsical they were, and how much they pushed colors and
Just like how funky, yeah, also like how funky in the shape design they were, because in PP what we also did was like, for example, in the shot where he is approaching the kingdom, I mean the castle, the dragon's castle, and like the environment around the dragon's castle, like there's a lot of like these really simple, like funky looking shapes, like the swoopy hills in the background, the castle itself looking like a giant dragon with all these soft round shapes. Like we definitely like took inspiration from Adventure Time and from Midnight Gospel for that kind of simplification of shapes.
Yeah, and Theus Grave as well for incorporating like those really like funky buildings and stuff into it, the ones that are shaped after animals. But these were some really early tests for figuring out the line art and flat coloring, like gradient style for the film.
Yeah.
Zoe did most of these.
These are horrifying to look at now.
So I'm picking up on the cat shape now. I can see it everywhere, just in that little hut with the window ears.
Oh,
Yeah,
it's so
there-
cute.
There was we have a lot of artwork and stuff that we couldn't really put in and because of like time and everything, and didn't want to like overcrowd it. But that was like kind of some of the original. We have a bunch of like original like rough sketches that we did for FizDev where it was like trying to figure out the architecture style of the cat kingdom and figuring out how to incorporate like just cat stuff in it. And it's really fun because I like when I was showing the short to some of my family members, they didn't notice it at all like the first viewing, and then like when I was like pausing it and like going through all the buildings and being like, see, this one has ears and this one has a tail and like you can see whiskers on this one, then they realized like how much it was kind of spread out like everywhere in the sets.
Yeah, that was one of the most fun parts. We loved incorporating that.
Oh, I love that drawing. I haven't even seen that before.
Yeah, my twin
think
actually
Georgia
did
did
the
it, yeah.
What?
Yeah,
George did that?
Georgia did
Yeah.
that. My
Oh my god, she's crazy.
I know,
That's
it was so
amazing.
good.
I was like, what kind of professional, insane artist did you guys put on to make this drawing? How have I never seen this before? Georgia did that. What the hell?
I have an identical twin who is a background artist who worked a lot on this film, and she's
insane.
Yeah, she did that drawing to the left. That was us trying to figure out the palace, and this was hugely Theus Grave inspired. I just love the way he like works funky faces into all of his stuff. And then this was another old line art test. We thinned the line at the end because we realized that they would kind of overpower the characters because the characters have thin line art, so we thinned our background line art as well.
This background also changed a lot.
Oh yeah.
I think we went through like 3 different passes of like roughly what it would look like because of the camera move, and then this was also like the way our school worked is like by the end of our first quarter of production we needed to have like a pipeline shot or like some evidence of like production, so this was the shot that we were doing. And so then we just had to keep going through iterations of it, in part because of like the timeline we were on and everything.
Yeah. And this was another one of that shot too, where we were testing some stuff out. And then we started really getting into the look of the backgrounds, and this was done by Jess, who helped with a lot of like the quality control of the backgrounds. She's really insane at paint, so she kind of developed the final paint style. And this is one of the examples of the cat buildings too. This has cat ears and cat paws. Um,
Hmm.
but that's step by step how we did backgrounds. And she made it super easy to follow by just writing out her entire process and all the details. So that was awesome because everybody could just kind of take that and fly with it. And then some more from this one was from Zoe, showing how to kind of work off the color script and incorporate them into the backgrounds. And this is just a good example of how backgrounds developed. Some napkin sketches to the right. This one was done by one of our background artists, Michelle. And then the board is bottom left, and Michelle had the awesome idea of making the cave itself into a spider shape. So the top one
Oh,
is
that's
what
cool.
yeah.
Yeah, this was like I think we had a few other backgrounds and like set pieces that like this kind of happened, but it was because like I think if we were doing like in the official I guess like timeline that you should kind of be on, like our we weren't able to because we didn't have the manpower at the time like kind of do every aspect of pre-production and biz dev like our first quarter. And so once we started like really getting into backgrounds and like getting into the rough layout and then moving to line art, there were all these things that like, you know, visual development wise ended up coming up. Like Michelle had this idea, like kind of for making it more like spidery, like literally as she was like getting ready to do the line art for it. And then we had the big like kind of aerial view of like the labyrinth, like initially there was going to be a tower in it, and the maze looked slightly different, and then like right as we were starting the backgrounds, I think it was Grace who like did a sketch of like, oh, what if like in the middle like it was like minotaur head shaped and stuff like that. So everything just kind of slowly came together as we really got into it.
Yeah.
Yeah, something that I noticed that, like, looking at what you guys are showing is that it feels like you also have like a good understanding and grasp of the purpose of a sketch and like the purpose of
Yeah.
exploring in a sketch and not trying to like make the sketch like perfect. I think like, on big projects that's where it can slow a lot of people down when like right off the bat you try and get that perfect thing and feel like this has to be like, perfect one. This has to be like what ends up going in the film. Like no, it's clear and like also like the way you guys presented the information of like the style guide and like how you dug into like why does this style look how it is, like that's just really impressive to me. And like I'm sure like with how big of a team you had and how the team was, some were students, some were working at the jobs, some were at like other schools, I'm sure that helps like the organization of everything, so that's really cool.
Definitely. Yeah, like it's really easy to look at a finished piece of work and be like, yeah, that was in that artist's brain, they just put it down there and it was like that. But no, like something we were really inspired by was the Wolfwalkers art book because they included like their napkin sketches and their messy sketches, their explorative stuff. And that's so important. Like to get to a good point, you kind of just have to get all the garbage ideas out, or not even that. It's just you just have to throw stuff at a wall until something works.
Yeah.
So definitely, that was a learning curve for me too, especially with the boards. It's just like don't be afraid of making something good. Just make it. Just do it, and you'll eventually figure it out. It's a process, but yeah, the napkin sketches are a great way to just thumbnails in general, just to figure that out.
Yeah.
And then yeah, these were some insane finished pieces of the throne room. The very left one and top right one were done by Zoe. Um, and then with line art from one of our background line art artists. And then bottom one was done by another one of our background line art artists and painters. I believe it was Raz and Anna.
I think Anna painted it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We had backgrounds separated into line art and paint, where some people just did line art, some people just did paint, and some people did both, depending on where their strengths were, just to speed things up. And then at the top, those little murals with the dragon and pig, those were cameos of our other like sister films, friends who were directing their own films at the school at the time.
Oh, that's really cool.
Yeah, it was really fun putting cameos in here. And then this giant one, so you can see the finished cat palace here. Jess did this background, and it's insane. This took her, I think, in total, off and on, working a couple months, but she killed it, and it really helped dictate the style of the backgrounds of the film.
Yeah, because this is such a huge background that everyone could come back and reference it too. Because I
Yeah.
remember, yeah, even when I was doing the end credit illustrations, like I was even looking at this for some of the reference of the houses and stuff too, even though it was in a different style.
Yeah, I always came back to this one. Because I think the first chunk of it, like the center image, was the first part that she finished, and I remember she sent like kind of the first update on that one. I think like early January or something, and it really helped cement kind of I think the path going forward.
Yeah, because it had a lot of elements implemented, like hard geometric shapes and soft organic shapes, so people could come back and reference that for the rest of the film. And then these monsters as well. The whole traveling sequence was insane for the background artist. The Oh man, I should have grabbed the line art version of that bottom one.
Oh god,
That one
yeah.
was like a Where's Waldo type thing. It was
I
insane.
in chat I can post the GIF version of it. I think.
I think that's the
we have
line art
that.
version. Yeah,
Yeah. I
Yeah.
have a line art version right here. Hopefully it'll work.
Yeah, it's a hefty gift.
I think like the hard part with these ones, I think this was like kind of the only area that we had it, but I had never worked off a color script before, and then the color script was based off of kind of like the initial boards that like rough, very rough like kind of thumbnail layouts that Julia had
Wow.
done um for the first pass of the animatic, and then when we moved into layout, then like all these things kind of get added, and then that complicates like trying to translate like the color script into these huge layouts, yeah, like this, and trying to figure out how that would work. So I did the top one on the slide, and then one of our other painters painted the bottom one. I think it was Josh, yeah. And at least for the top one, I struggled a lot with it. And it was I think one of our last backgrounds because I think Julie and I stayed up finishing it off like literally the night before the film was due, or
Wow.
a day before the
Yeah.
film.
That night was an adventure.
That night was insane. It was a very bonding experience. We're all trauma bonded through
Yeah,
that
we
experience.
really did.
It was fun though. Looking back at it, I'm very fond of it.
Yeah.
But
Like I didn't touch comp throughout the entire production. Like I didn't have anything to do with comp, and then that last night, I think I comped like 3 or 4
yeah,
times.
we were just doing everything we could to
Yeah.
get it done. But yeah, I would say the hardest thing about these backgrounds was figuring out the values. Because they're all really busy, so we had to be really smart with our value scales. For example, foreground darkest, midground less dark, background less dark, or the other way around depending on the shot. And trying to translate that into color was difficult, but everybody did a fantastic job. And then here's some more backgrounds. That insane Labyrinth one, that was really fun.
Oh yeah, the Labyrinth one, I remember like
Massive file.
we had like 20 different casts for the Labyrinth one because we were so indecisive on how to make it work, because I remember doing like
Yeah, it was one of the first ones.
I was like doing like 3 or 4 like Photoshop edits to like figure out like how to guide the painters on this. It was really like I feel like I learned a lot on this, even though I didn't paint it at all. I just did like critiques on that one Labyrinth shot specifically. I felt like I learned a ton just doing that.
Yeah, again, figuring out the values to make your eye go directly to the middle of the maze was a fun challenge. And Josh was one of our background artists and painters. Josh, I don't know if he's here today, but he did a ton of the Labyrinth shots and really killed it. And his paint style also helped inform a lot of the aspects of the film.
Yeah, I always look back at his for reference, like throughout the rest of the painting. It was
Yeah,
really
me
good.
too. Like
He's an insane painter.
in my end credit illustrations, I was straight up just color picking on that Cat Kingdom shot he did.
Yeah.
Because it's so crazy.
And then this was one by Hunter, just another one of the painting shots. It was really fun just exploring the wide range of different kind of backgrounds we had, like deserts and jungles and everything in between. And then this was also one of our very early ones that Zoe did, figuring out the paint style.
Yeah, that was funny. This one was actually like the layout for this was pretty much. I think when I boarded the sequence, I just like sketched down the layout really roughly, so I have something for reference, and I was just like looking up some really vague like visual reference, and then my rough sketch that I did for my boards actually ended up becoming the final layout as well, which was really cool to see.
Yeah,
This is my one layout in this whole film.
We were well, and I was like, had just like been watching somebody play Bloodborne, and I was like, we could do like a gothic.
And I was like, all right, let me just like sketch that in for the actual layout artist later. And then turns out there was never an actual layout artist on this.
And then another one of the panic shots. And then we'll go in the tapestry, and I'll let you talk about this, Polo, because
Right.
Polo directed the tapestry.
I'm going to grab your keyboard. Cool. Yeah, okay, so I boarded out the tapestry. I don't think we have the boards in here. But
We do, we have some of those.
Oh, we do? Okay. Okay, I boarded out the tapestry, and yeah, there you can see some of the boards, and like, yeah. I boarded out the tapestry, and then because I boarded it, Julia figured that I would have the best grasp on where I wanted to go with it, and that was quite the challenge because I have never. I'm usually like I'm in the fields of like animation and just like cartoony or comic style illustrations. So this was definitely like something very new for me to try and figure out and tie down. And thankfully, I had help with our color artist Jess. She did these very first passes of the color script, which I ended up tweaking before handing the flat color line arts to the tapestry paint artist. But yeah, we went through multiple passes. I think wait, is it in here? Yeah. The first slide that you see in there is actually fully painted by me because I tried to really tie down the painting style of this first before I had anyone else try to tackle this because I wanted to make sure that it's more streamlined and that the paint artists have something very clearly to reference. And throughout the process, as this was getting painted, all of the paint artists started adding small little details to it in ways that they would stylize things. For example, like down here, where's your mouse? Here. Down here, Ollie, one of the painters, started adding these little flowers here using one of the brush textures that I did. And I gave them pretty much a preset hand-drawn set of repeating textures to use as stencil brushes. And it was really interesting seeing like how the painters started incorporating this into the tapestry style because this brush right here was meant to be for fabric. I initially used that on the princess's dress and the king's clothing as well, and then Ollie started repurposing it for plants, and I thought that was really cool. And these small things kind of brought the whole tapestry together because everyone just started putting their own little ideas into it, which was really rewarding to see. I pretty much like just did the base colors for it here, which you can see here. And then I did the flat colors and blocked in the lighting for all of them just to make sure that all of them read really strongly. Like here, for example, I wanted to make sure that you look at this burning castle first instead of the dragon, just things like that. So I had a pretty big hand on lighting and final color of it. And then all of the paint was done by the other artists. I think, yeah, this one was the only one that I fully painted myself. And then at the end, when everything was done right before I started comping it, I went over it again and just did some final last little color tweaks, but like most of the legwork was from my awesome paint team. My painters did an amazing job, and we had separate tapestry meetings with them to get this to the stage that I wanted it to be at. Which
Yeah,
was like,
the tapestry was a whole different.
Yeah, it was a whole different line of production.
Like part of department.
Yeah, exactly. I had my own little section in the server just for the tapestry and my tapestry people. And yeah, we spent so much time trying to like tie down the style because we wanted it to look a little bit like flat and medieval, but then we also wanted to have it look modern and comic. esque.
Yeah, a lot of people throughout the entire production were just on this part of the film,
Mhm.
like figuring that out.
Because yeah, I think what took the longest on the tapestry was not the final paint. I think it was tying down the style. Like I spent months repainting this one over and over again, trying to tie down the style until at one night I just deleted all of my efforts on it and started over entirely with like a fresh eye, and then that's how this style came to be, and then everyone just referenced that back. And yeah, the back and forth on the style definitely took the longest. And then here's like another little close up of it. You can't, I don't know how well you can see it on the stream, but big style of the tapestry was like these small repeating patterns, inspired by these old medieval
Byzantine,
paintings. Yeah, Byzantine
tapestry
paintings that were like done with embroidery and stuff. So getting like the artists to use these patterns, these repeating patterns in a way that isn't boring or flat was a really fun challenge to figure out. That's it on my part.
All right, and then some compositing. Compositing was like the fastest part of production, just because we had the least amount of time for it. I think, like by the time all of our comp artists got on, we had like 5 weeks to do it all, and they really chugged. So here's some before and afters. I think the spider shot was the hardest to comp, um, just to get that atmosphere right and to make sure the focus was correct throughout. Like there's like cave lighting and lighting from the fire, and 3 different characters. Ma did that one, who's in chat, and absolutely killed it. And then just one of the Minotaur, Labyrinth. The Labyrinth came together pretty. It wasn't too hard getting the Labyrinth together, because we just added the fog and some multiply layers. The hardest part was that the sky, the tone of the sky and the tone of the Minotaur school were almost exactly the same value-wise. So we had to go in and make sure we found a good way to darken the sky, make sure the clouds weren't distracting from the skull too much. And then some dragon comp. This was a really fun part of the scene to comp where we could make it really like dark and atmospheric.
Awesome.
And then the montage parts. These were really fun too. These weren't too heavy comp wise, just because there's already so much happening. I was just making sure the values were balanced and that we were looking at the right thing. And then lastly, we'll go into a little bit of 2D animation progress. And I'll start by going into one of my shots, which was the dragon chasing Pipi. This shot was a pain at first, like just figuring out the staging for it. I started this shot twice and worked on it for like each iteration for like a week or 2 before just scrapping it and starting over. And by the 3rd try, it started working. And then, so this was like one of the first passes of the 3rd try. Really rough, again, like when you're figuring out, or in the first stages, especially in animation, it's really helpful just to be loose and scribbly and just figure out the flow of everything before trying to tie things down. I think that was one of my problems in the iterations before this, is I would try to tie things down too quickly. And then Polo came and she took my file and pulled the camera out and incorporated some keys of Pipi. And that's when the shot really got locked down. Oh, okay. Yeah, this is a very heavy file. So sorry, you're probably seeing like a couple frames a second. But also all the colors in the rough, that isn't really intentional. A lot of people are like asking me what the intention is for using a lot of different colors, and really it's just, I just try to work fast and I kind of just grab whatever color is closest to my hand. So that's kind of how that happens.
Right. So there's no actual meaning to it. It's just
Yeah, no.
this will do.
It's like, yeah.
It's also, I think, also just like looking at it, I think
Yeah,
it's also like based on the different sections you were worrying about in that moment.
Yeah.
Just using a different color for that section.
Yeah, the chain like is red just because I did all the chain at that one time, but like a lot of times when I'm animating, it hops from one part of the body to another. So like different parts of the body just change color depending on what color I had at the time. But yeah, this was the finished rough. You definitely can't see this on stream super well, but It was fun. It was challenging. I learned a lot.
I could maybe post a
And
GIF, maybe
Yeah,
if
you
that would
can
help.
yeah, I'll post.
Yeah,
Yeah, that would be
I'll
awesome,
post the
Keen.
GIF.
And then I only did the dragon here. Polo did the keys for PP, and then Sally, one of our animators, came and did the tie down keys and in betweens and clean up and did an awesome job. Sally did a ton of the animation on this film too.
Yeah, Sally went crazy.
And then Kian, if you
Oh
want to
yes.
talk about your
Yeah, this is the spider shot. Right now you're just looking at the keys and a few breakdowns of the shot. This was certainly the shot with the highest like skill cap, I guess, like learning curve that I went through, because it's 17 seconds long, 3 characters, and a lot going on in it. And this was the first time where I was tackling anything like this. Especially the spider, trying to figure out how to get those legs to move in a realistic and believable way, was a really, really difficult but rewarding process. You can go to the next
yeah,
slide.
all those different
I guess.
joints moving.
Yeah.
It's hard.
Oh yeah, it was definitely hard. My process in tackling this shot was to just handle one character at a time. So here you can see PP's almost completely done in this version. So to not overwhelm myself, I just focused on him and getting his acting down first. And then you can go to the next slide.
Yeah. But you did the keys for everyone first so that you knew like when everybody needed to like tie everything together and make sure the focus was on the right character.
Yeah, so yeah, I definitely did all the keys for all the characters first. And then I worked on the mole princess, getting her movements down because she's connected to the spider. And then finally getting that spider to move down, which took me, I think, the longest out of anything that I did on the film, because there was a lot of like redos on the spider. I was a full-time student working on aside from working on this film, I was actually part of the extended crew. So my weekends were entirely dedicated to figuring out how the spider moved and finishing the shot up.
Yeah, Kian is a freshman at SCAD.
Yeah. So I'm going into my sophomore year, up and coming.
Crazy.
Awesome.
And
So talented.
yeah. The GIF of your dragon shot is now in the chat. If people would like to go and see that. It's absolutely.
Oh, sorry. I
Okay, no,
interrupted.
you go for it. I was just gonna say that the dragon shot's absolutely incredible.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, I think that's it we have for this presentation. So I will stop sharing my screen.
That's really cool to see. Like the end result that you see in the short film was already really impressive, and seeing the behind the scenes, like it really shows, like, you know, all of the work and planning and just everything that went into getting such a cool end result. So really, really good on you guys. Like, it's really impressive what you guys did.
Well, thank you. Yeah, everybody killed it. Could not have done it without this team.
Mm-hmm.
I am curious, since let's see, we're at 12:30. Do you want to like have like 5-10 minutes if anybody from the audience has any questions?
I see one question
Yeah.
right here already.
Yeah,
I have a question.
That's actually a great idea. I haven't thought about really doing that until now.
Let's read out the question first so everyone knows so we're all on the same page.
Right.
Are you ever gonna do a behind the scenes video or some sort of compilation of everything? It's really interesting.
Well, now I want to. So.
Yeah, right? Yeah. I'm thinking about it.
We do have like a work in progress art book we wanted to release at some point, so we'd like to get that out. Yeah, that's a great idea.
Yeah. Do you know who Area Games is? It looks like they've done a reaction to PP on YouTube.
We've been watching the reactions. Let me check.
Yeah, we've been like
stalking
a lot of
the
reactions. Yeah, we've been like immediately when the film came out. I think the reason there was this suggestion for the search suggestion for PP reaction video was probably because our entire team was just searching it up every 5 minutes, checking if anyone made a reaction video yet. Because before we even published PP, we were daydreaming about people doing reaction videos.
Yeah. I mean, the film itself on YouTube's had 3.5 million views. I mean, that's got to feel good, right? Were you kind of shocked at that
Yeah.
reaction, or you're like, ah, no, we got this?
It's very rewarding and very validating to all the hard work we put in. I knew from the beginning, like I had confidence in the concept of the film and the work everybody was doing, so I'm not surprised. But I am just very grateful. It's been insane. Especially the first week, just like some of my favorite creators endorsing it, people getting opportunities from it. It was like the best possible outcome. Just seeing all of our hard work pay off in that way.
Oh, for sure. Yeah. What was the lecturer's reaction? I mean, this would have a killing grade.
Oh, professor loved it. The grade was honestly never something I was considering during this. It was like, I don't know. I don't even think I checked my grade when the school year ended. I was just thinking about like all I could think about 24/7 was a film.
Yeah, done.
There was a mixed reaction actually at the school for this film, just because there were like rumors that people were like hired and stuff like that. So by the end of it, it was all kind of like crazy. Either people loved the film or hated the film. But as soon as the air was clear with that, everything became pretty much just like praise and appreciation, which is really, really nice after all of our hard work.
Yeah, it really like started making it feel worth it because during the PP production, after pulling like so many all-nighters, like I definitely had moments where, because I don't even go to SCAD. I'm not part of the school. I was not part of the official team. I was extended crew, and I had full-time college to take care of and my own thesis to prepare alongside working probably up to 40 hours or more a week on PP. Like I was losing a lot of sleep over this, and I definitely had a few moments where I was like, "Oh, why am I doing this? What am I doing this for? Why am I doing this to myself?" And now that like there's all this opportunity coming our way because of this film that we worked so hard on, and suddenly it feels very much worth it. And I'm actually really glad that I put the effort into it that I did.
Yeah.
I see. Yeah. Sorry, I interrupted.
When I was very briefly when when I joined the film, I knew that like there was something so special about it, so special about like Julia's vision. And so the reason why I ended up doing a minute of animation was because I knew that if I didn't give it my absolute all, I would look back and regret, because I knew that this was just such a special opportunity. So seeing it, the amazing reception it got, was just like so gratifying for that.
Yeah, it's been really awesome. I see another question. It's, are you going to be making another short like that in the future? So probably not like that, just because all the stars kind of aligned to make this film. But I would like to continue Pipi's story. And we've started coming up with some ideas.
Yeah, Julia and I have been like digging into the universe a little bit.
Yeah, so we're just slowly starting to talk about it. But we would like to continue, yes.
Nice.
Amazing.
I see
See
there's
a
also
Netflix series in the future.
Yeah.
I see there's also in
Be
the questions
awesome.
for streams, 2 questions, one from Abigail, one from Vaughn. Would we like to do these 2 questions and then call it there?
Yeah. That sounds great.
Cool.
Okay, Abby's
So-
question is, how did you keep the... Oh, sorry.
Oh, no, go on. It's fine.
Okay. Abby being asked, how did you keep all the bricks in the film so consistent? Abby,
Although what?
all the bricks in the film so consistent.
That's a good
Wait,
question.
wait. Where is that?
I think it's like
in questions for stream.
Abby's...
Oh, I did.
Abby's making a joke.
Oh, the bricks. I think you said bricks. I was like,
No, the bricks.
Yeah, this
The
film
bricks-
is very brick heavy.
Yeah, no, it was a big.
many.
Bricks were like a big conversation of the background design a lot because we both gave a lot of brick drawings.
We were talking
all
about
the
bricks
time.
every day,
Yeah,
like- I don't
It
know
was
if
like becoming a little like meme in the server talking about bricks and the brick reference.
yeah, I don't know if you guys noticed when we were going through the backgrounds, but almost every background has a ton of bricks in it.
Like really, like every single brick hand drawn in. Yeah.
Yeah, it was the hardest part with the bricks were fun. It's just a fun way of adding like texture to the ground.
Yeah,
And also showing the perspective and the depth of it too.
Yeah.
I remember I kept like a folder just specifically of like screenshots from like amphibia backgrounds of bricks.
Yeah,
so
so
I could
many
go back
bricks.
to it.
Yeah. Everybody now is a master drawing bricks who worked on the backgrounds of this film.
That's awesome.
Right.
And then there's Vaughn's question. Any tips or advice on directing, producing a short film on this scale?
That's a
really
That's a really good question.
Because I feel like in order to make this work, it was more so just things aligning very well.
I mean, a huge part of it is having a good producer. Thankfully, we had Brooke and Zoe who helped manage and organize everything. And then I did a good bit of producing as well, with just like setting up and assigning files.
And also just like having the concept of like, you know, having a huge shot list, keeping track of everything, making sure everything, you have an eye on everything.
Lots of Excel sheets, lots of Excel sheets. And organization is huge.
Yeah, it's very important.
We did this all in Discord, which is a bit of a challenge. It's like a mix of Discord and Google Drive. A lot of times big productions are best done within like production softwares like ShotGrid or something like that can kind of automate progress and keep everything in one spot. But if you're gonna make a big production or ambitious production, just be as organized as possible. And one of the most important things about having bringing in a big team of people and wanting them to follow a concise vision is provide as many demos as possible, like teach people the programs, teach people the shortcuts, and just don't, I would say just don't throw people into it, just help guide them to get used to it, and then they'll just fly from there.
And also I think like a big part, especially in like delegating such a big team, is definitely just like don't be mean, like be nice, be patient. These people are helping you on your project, they're not even getting paid. So everything, we made sure to like handle the people and everything with like a lot of patience and kindness and openness, and like trying to have them get as much out of it as possible, considering that this was like pretty much just like a volunteer project. Like all of this just a big collaborative project. None of this was for profit. We're not making any money off of anything. So it was really like cool getting all these people together, like working on this because they want to, not because they're trying to specifically gain something from it.
Building off of that, with the bigger the team gets, both the more hands you have, but also the harder it is to manage and the more time that takes. So although like originally I was more of the art animation director, that slowly turned into Polo taking a good bit of it, and I just spent most of my day just articulating notes, managing, doing draw overs, and I was also one of the lead animators, but since that took so much time, only in my spare time could I animate stuff. But I think if you're going to direct a big project or something ambitious, you just have to be ready for most of your time to be talking to people. Like I would wake up to like 20 or 30 DMs a day. And it's really good to be able to adapt to people's it was pretty rough. But it was fun because I like my favorite part of animation is the collaborative aspect of it. I like animators and artists are some of the coolest, most fun people. So just adapting to people's personalities and learning how to best give critique to different people was fun. Sometimes you have to be more hands-on, and sometimes you have like some people need some like visual guidance because people are different learners. So sometimes you just need to like quickly open an OBS and record yourself doing something and it clicks for people, or some people are good with the just verbal crit. But just be adaptive, be kind, be patient, and be what's the word? It's like the whole like theme of Pipi.
Perseverance.
Persevere.
As in like P-U-R-R severe?
Yeah.
Persevere? Yeah.
Yeah.
Uh, I think like
Perseverance.
I think also like just to give like more praise like to Julia and Polo, I like there were just so many things that like I learned like offhandedly from them, and there was also there were also so many times like on production where it was like, okay, I know these two are incredibly busy, but like that never stopped them from like giving time. Like if I had like a question, or I mean, if I think if anyone on the production like had a question or like a troubleshoot thing, they were both like super super attentive at like kind of just getting ready to handle that on the spot. And I think also like was we all kind of encouraged like across all of the departments like on the film, like if you need, for whatever reason, like if you need to pass something off, like please tell one of us, and we can totally figure out a way to accommodate this as long as you tell us.
Yeah.
So I think like on bigger productions, especially like having that kind of environment was really helpful, and also helped manage and kind of just making everything feasible.
Yeah, like
Yeah.
a huge part of like working on production is putting ego aside. Like I learned that asking for help and relying on others is a strength instead of a weakness.
Oh, yeah, definitely. And also like taking just like generally like being open to critique and feedback in general is so important if you want to get better and make
Absolutely.
something great.
Yeah,
And I,
like taking a bunch of artists with different backgrounds and working together to create one cohesive end product was no easy feat, but their dedication to this project saw it to fruition, and I couldn't be more proud of and inspired by what everybody did. Everybody contributed to something meaningful.
Yeah,
I
Ken,
think
you
And
wanna
Yeah, well, because you're talking about feedback and like being open for it to ask for help. Being the biggest thing that I took away from it is like being proactive about asking for help. Like if
Yes.
you are stuck, seek out that like tell your supervisors, tell your director like, "Hey, I need some help. Is there any like do you have any tips to guide me in the direction to solve this problem?" And just be really open and perceptive and not defensive, because every critique is an opportunity to grow, and separating sometimes it can be really touchy when people criticize and critique your work, but like reframing how you think of it to be constantly building upon yourself and improving through critique, that is very very important.
Yeah, like by the like once we really got into the flow of production, like probably the like main like 4 months, like this was kind of like my first like experience ever working with something like this, and like kind of full on, and like having a director and like kind of the pipeline and everything. And it got to a point where I was just like, oh my God, I can't wait for crit. Yay, I get notes. Like,
Me
and
too, me
because
too.
I was so excited to like learn from it, and like like have a different insight on these things, and Julia and Polo were just also so great at kind of articulating like, things with what they wanted the vision to be, and yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah. I can definitely back that up for anyone in the chat, that's maybe starting out. If you don't think you're going to hit deadline, or if you're going to struggle, please, please, please say something, because it's a lot easier, as the crew were saying, to be able to shuffle things around than it is to kind of miss a deadline and have to keep chasing things up. So that's a very big, important piece of advice there.
yeah, well put. It's huge.
Also, like the other
Sure.
thing too is that if you people like if you're being led by good people, they're never going to be mad at you
Exactly.
saying, "Hey, I'm struggling with something." If you
Yeah,
don't say
exactly.
something and then it starts to have repercussions on everybody's work down the line, like then that's when people can be a bit upset about that, because it's like, yeah, okay, now this is making it more complicated. But like if you're working under good people, they shouldn't be mad about you being honest about needing help. If you
Yeah.
are working under
And if
people and
they
they
are
are
mad,
mad about that, then those probably aren't
find another
good
job.
people to work
Yeah.
with.
Exactly. Yeah, I mean, I struggle with stuff all the time. Like I'm still very much learning as an animator. So I mean, like just with that perspective, I was very grateful for people coming to me for help, because I mean, in general, like it feels good to help people. So like if you're ever like wondering like, oh, should I like ask somebody this? Is this a stupid question? People love getting
Yeah,
to share their
people love
knowledge.
giving like advice and help. At least like that's definitely the case with both of us. Like whenever anyone would come to us with question, I would actually be really happy to respond and like be of help.
Yeah.
Well,
Awesome. Sorry, V. Go for it.
oh no, I that was just like the
The
closing
That
out.
it?
the,
You
That's
know,
all we call
the,
now.
the wrapping
yeah.
up sound.
Yeah, yeah,
the
yeah.
wrapping up. Well,
Yeah.
Yeah, look, thanks so much for coming on board and chatting about making this film. It's been amazing to get an insight, and it always is. You know, we see this incredible stuff on the internet, but just seeing what goes into it is super important just to learn. So, your generosity coming on and putting together the show and tell, yeah, it's really appreciated. So, thank you very much.
Oh, well, thank you for having us.
Yeah,
This
thank you
was
so much.
it's really fun.
Yeah, thank you.
I was really excited to get this email because I had just been watching a bunch of your Twitch stuff with my friends and like Discord calls. Like we just put them on at night when we were working to get some
oh,
inspiration. So
that's
I was
so freaking
Cool.
cool.
Yeah.
That's good to know.
we were just watching like a Bad Guys one recently, but yeah, no, like I was really honored to get the email from you guys. So thank you again for having us.
Yes,
Yeah,
thank
no,
you so much.
fantastic.
Yeah, big honor. Thank you guys.
Yeah, no worries. And look, I'm sure, Julia, you're already working in the industry. Who else? Polo?
Hello, pretty much is.
I mean, so my thing is that I'm an international student and I'm on a student visa, so I cannot work right now because of the restrictions that come with that. But
Right.
I've definitely gotten job offers and all that, and I've worked in like I've worked at
Definitely
like,
should
companies
be, I think,
before.
is the right word. Like,
Yeah.
it should
Yeah,
be. It's just
definitely
visa
should be.
is complicated.
Yeah,
think-
it's just my situation is a little unique.
Yeah.
Going back to what we mentioned at the very beginning, where Julia set out with this goal to get people portfolio pieces.
It worked.
It worked so well.
Oh, yeah, it
I
worked.
came out with a really great reel, and I'm currently working on the first season of Has Been Hotel.
Congratulations.
Yeah, thank
Right.
you. And it's all because of Pipi and Julia and what she set out to do with the film. So it's been amazing.
Yeah, and that's something as well. Working on a short film gives you that production experience as well.
Yeah.
You know, you're
Oh, yeah.
working to a pipeline and other departments, so it shows that you understand. So again, anyone in the chat, if you're students or put together a short film, and then you can talk about that in your interviews and things like that, as opposed to someone that just doesn't really understand the pipeline. It's still possible by all means, but yeah, just having that knowledge, I'm sure, helps a lot.
Yeah, that's a really good point.
Totally.
Recruiters like seeing that you can work in a production, that you have some experience in that.
Yeah, exactly, and especially also that you can work with other people too. Like
Yeah.
that's always good
Yeah,
to show.
a lot of collaboration.
Yeah, definitely. That's one of the big things in interviews as well. The people hiring you are thinking, do I want to have lunch with you? We're gonna
Yeah,
hang out together.
Exactly. Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
Yeah.
awesome. Well, yeah, all the best with your future journeys, and we can't wait to see what else comes out of the Pipi verse.
The PPCU.
PPCU.
Yeah. Yeah, but we look forward to keeping track of your progress. And everyone in chat, thanks for being here. Hopefully you got a lot out of that. Vero, thanks so much for putting this in front of us as well.
I
and
saw it
making
the
this
second
happen.
I saw it.
Yes,
I
thank you so
launched it at Scott, and I was like, Scott,
Yeah.
watch this.
Good.
Thank
Thank
you.
Yeah,
I'm so happy.
exactly. So, but as for the rest of the community, we're having a short break while Brent's on vacation. The first stream back is up on the website. We're going to be doing an A to the J drop this during the last live stream. So if you were there, you already know. But we're doing a 2012 Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle series retrospective. It's been 10 years since the first episode aired. Julia and I were kind of geeking out about Turtles before, but she just recently worked on the movie and I worked on the 2012 series. So we're going to have the animation directors come on and just give a talk about working on a show, which we don't normally do. It's always a film and game crew. We don't normally get a lot of TV, so it should
So
be
awesome. I can't wait to
a
see
good
that.
one.
I
Yeah,
can't wait.
awesome. Yeah, hopefully we can make it. So it'll be a lot of fun. So yeah, otherwise, thanks again. and we'll see everyone soon.
Sweet.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
Thanks,
Awesome.
everybody. Have a nice rest of your time zone.
You too.
Yeah.
Get sleep.
Thank you. Bye bye.
Thank you.
Yeah.
All right. Bye.